the work that you are doing as a representative body to provide good information for the government to work with. I pass the floor to the United Kingdom division, delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I take your second question first, which dealt directly with my own organisation, the Permanent Committee on Geographical Names, and I would like to beg the indulgence of the members of our esteemed group to let you know that, in fact, by coincidence, today happens to be the very day that the PCGN turns 100 years old. So the question about resolution of conflicts and sovereignty issues, I think, is perhaps borne out by the fact that we are now 100 years old. It's a big topic. We haven't yet finished our work, and we are always very grateful for the information from our Angagan colleagues providing us with information about the situations in their own countries. It's invaluable for us in the collection of information about areas outside of the United Kingdom. As far as the question about the UK goes, as the chairman notes, our model is perhaps slightly different. I don't know that it's different necessarily in the way that we address geographical names questions. Certainly our attendance here is rather different. Typically the attendees in this room are interested in their own domestic names situations, where, as we've noted, our specific interest is in the names of areas outside of the United Kingdom. But the consideration of UK names, although there is no national names authority, is still done in an authoritative and considered way, typically led by our Ordnance Survey National Mapping Organisation. So the information is typically provided at the local government level to the Ordnance Survey Mapping Authority level. So there are rigorous procedures in place to iron out problems of domestic names, as everybody else in this room considers. It's just that we lack a national names authority per se that considers the problems. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. So you are one of the very strong beneficiaries of national and regional standardization programs. So if we do it for no other reason, we need to support the United Kingdom. The next report that I had a couple of questions in was in relation to Italy. I was interested to read that the central body in Italy and the region of Veneto signed an agreement comparatively recently. And I've asked our Italian colleague to expand on that agreement and give us some indication as to why it was deemed to be necessary and important, and also what is the future for the other regions in and around Italy. Are there similar agreements going to be considered for each of them? And the second question, or second comment, was that I read with a great deal of interest the program of lectures and conferences held in universities in relation to geographical names. And I was wondering if you had any brief comment you could make in relation to the success of those particular events. I pass the floor to the delegate of Italy.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Chairman. Today, in Italy, the collection and processing of geographical names are tasks performed by the National Toponymy Commission, which was created in the Italian Military Geographical Institute. The regional and provincial departments give geospatial information. There's a cooperation agreement between the Italian military Institute in Venezia was handled by the National Toponymy Institute. It's an experimental project including regional toponymy in a scale of 1 to 10,000 in the national database, and it's on a scale 1 to 25,000. With the agreement, we have collaboration from different municipalities to be working together for the database and to check the spelling and pronunciation of the different geographical names in the regional maps. On your second question, I could add, Italy is very much interested in organizing a number of lectures to show geography professors the importance of geographical names. And that's why we have collaboration agreements with universities. Shortly, we'll have a number of seminars or lectures with the National Association of Geographers and Professors of Geography in Italy. And I hope with that I've replied to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that reply. That was covering the questions I had. As I said at the beginning, I never cease to be amazed at what is happening around the world, and steps like this that I would never envisage is, from my own imagination, are the important things that I gain from these country reports. The next report I would like to look at is New Zealand. New Zealand has recently, as contained in their report, been working on a strategic plan for geographical names, and that's reported, but they included some aspects that I have not seen in a strategic report. Certainly the concept of purpose and vision is what we need to have in it, but New Zealand has also included some proverbs and sayings within their report. And I looked at that and wondered, what was the cultural imperative for that type of inclusion in a strategic plan? So I have asked our delegate from New Zealand to provide a bit of an explanation on that. So I pass the floor to our New Zealand delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll do my best to answer your question about the cultural imperative of the addition of these proverbs and sayings. I suppose the first thing I would say is that in New Zealand we have two official languages, Māori and English. We also actually have sign as an official language. And the government has just this year announced a strategy for revitalising the Māori language in government agencies, and to that end has itself come up with a strategy called Mahi Korona, so that's the Crown's strategy. And what the government has been asking Crown agencies, and in this case a statutory body of government, the New Zealand Geographic Board, which is our national naming authority, has asked us to start to implement this dual aspect of our language throughout the documents that we publish. So for this strategic plan, which the Geographic Board started to discuss actually in 2015, and we've just issued a new 5-year plan, 2018 to 23. For this latest rendition of it, we have decided to use the Māori word that applies to the purpose, so that is te kaupapa, is the Māori word, to the vision, te whakakitenga, is the vision. And then